All right, all right. Amy Sedgwick, how are you today?
Great, Tom. How are you? Good morning.
Oh, good morning. Happy Friday. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful day. Well,
Gorgeous
hey,
here.
thanks so much for jumping on here. I know you have a busy schedule, busy life, but
Yeah.
could you share a little bit about yourself with our viewers this morning?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Thank you for having me. So I was born and raised in Portland, Oregon. This is where I live, where I sell. I was selling in Seattle for about 18 years, and then I moved back to Portland to be closer to my parents and all that involves. And I decided to purchase a floating house that floats on the river. And my parents actually are also on a floating house. So I decided to hyper niche my marketing and go for a niche market. So I specialize in floating homes. It's a very, very fun thing to do.
Well, I have to ask about that. So what inspired you to buy a floating home and get into the floating home market?
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I remember going with my mom to visit her friend Jane, who lived on a floating house. Who was a bit of a hippie, and ducks were coming up, and she'd feeding the ducks. I thought it was the coolest thing. And then my dad ended up buying a floating home. Always a bit of a river rat, kind of again a hippie dude, and cool guy. And when I decided to move back, I was changing my life very, very dramatically, leaving my business and coming to completely restart. And I always wanted to be on one. So I bought one, and it all went from there.
Well, that's awesome. And I know that it just has to be extremely refreshing, and it's just something that you can really, I'm sure, reflect on your life and really have a big picture. So um, let's talk a little bit about balance, because I know that you're busy, your business, and so many other things. You're an author, and how do you balance your life?
That's not an easy task, actually, because I like to work and I like what I do so much that I just fill my time doing it. So, what I find has been helpful for me is I take moments. If I see that I've got a little window open on a particular day, I'll work hard to not just automatically fill it, and then I'll be okay with not feeling like, oh my gosh, I've got to be doing something in this 2 hour window, when it's actually okay for me to go up and fuss around in my garden plot, talk to my neighbors, hit happy hour at the T. We call that here at our mortgage. And I carve out time. After we're done here, I'm getting in my car and I'm driving to the lake for half of Memorial Day weekend.
Well, that's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about your book. Can you share?
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to. A Buyer's Guide to Floating Homes was born out of a necessity. I wasn't really doing it for me. I was doing it for the people, or I did do it for the people who were calling me with all of these questions that didn't know anything about floating homes. I mean, what do you know about floating homes, Tom? I'm guessing. Meh. So I just found that I didn't have enough time to answer everyone's questions all the time. And I really wanted to, because they're sincere, valid questions. So I started making notes of all the questions that were repeated. How do you maintain a float? Slip rental versus rental ownership. And I collected it. It took me 2 years to put it together. But it's together and it's out there. It's inexpensive, mostly because I'm just trying to recoup what I paid to put it together. But I'm very pleased to have it out there in the world.
Well, if you could share a couple of the commonly asked questions that we could take away.
Yeah, the two of the biggest questions are, people want to know about the monthly fees. And it's a little confusing because your house is floating at a marina, and it's either in a marina where you rent your slip, so you're renting from a for-profit corporation, somebody owns the whole marina and you rent the space. Those are typically higher in cost because you're paying a for-profit, like I said. So slip rent might be in the 700 to up to $1,000 a month for slip rent. Slip ownership is different. It's like an HOA. So like when you own a condominium, right? You own your condo and then part of the entire complex. So with slip ownership, monthly fees are typically $350, $400 a month because you're paying a nonprofit, you're paying yourself. So it's just enough to cover water, sewer, garbage, and dock maintenance items. The homes tend to be a little bit more expensive when they're in slip rental, but that's why. That's the trade-off.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And, it's just so great that you share and you serve others in that market. If you don't mind, could you tell us a story about some clients that you helped with a floating home?
Oh my gosh. Where to start? What's interesting is the sellers that sell floating homes are usually aging out, or it's where somebody has passed away. And it's a bit of a sad thing and a privilege to be invited into this very emotional part of these people's lives. And that's a testament to floating home living. People love it so much that they want to stay. I just recently helped a sweet couple sell their floating home. It was an aging out thing, and the timing was just right. I happened to get their house in the New York Times. That was another intentional timing thing that just happened, and they were able to get into a place that they really like, that works for them, where they can walk and move about more easily. Yeah. Oh, wait, no, I got another story. So
I love it.
okay. So I have these two sisters that really want to be in the same mortgage. So now that's really a unicorn, right? So one sister is about to close on this really cool floating house, and we were walking the dock, and the other sister said, if I could have any floating home, I would want that one. That's my favorite home in this marina. Guess what? Old school, knockety knock knock. They wanted to sell. Guess who's in escrow? She closes on Wednesday. And the two sisters are like 5 houses away from each other.
Wow.
That's super fun.
That's a great story. Thank
Yeah.
you for sharing.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. And I know that you joined eXp Realty a couple of years ago, and you could have joined any brokerage.
Yeah.
So, what was it like before, and what is it like now? What, I don't know, problem did it solve, or maybe you could share about that.
Sure. I'd love to. And I could have joined any brokerage, not because like, hey, I'm so great, although I do a pretty good volume.
Oh, you're great.
Thanks, Tom. Mostly because I could have joined any brokerage because I have carved out this niche of floating homes in Oregon. Other brokers have seen that and have wanted me to come to their team. But I wasn't, what's interesting is I wasn't actively looking. And then I met Don Yoakum, and he introduced me in a very soft way. He wasn't pushy or anything like that. And I need that. Pushy doesn't work with me. And I looked at the model and I was like, oh my goodness, here's how I can eventually retire, because I've been doing this 22 years. So what spoke to me is the ability for me to create a team, if you will, to train up a couple people. I'm so excited to double the income of a girl that I'm bringing in. I'm super happy about that. But it gives me a way to retire. That was really the biggest thing, through the revenue share and the stock awards. I've got my stock award. I kind of age at my first year, so that was exciting. But I'm a single gal. I don't have kids to look out for me. Maybe my niece will look out for me in my old age, but I'm starting to think like, oh my goodness, retirement, I got to get there.
Absolutely. Well, we're just honored to partner with you and serve our clients and serve others, our organizations. So, well, thanks for jumping on here, Amy. So if anyone wants to reach out, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Just a direct email. I mean, I'm an open book. My email is amy@floatinghomesportland.com. And that's also the website is floatinghomesportland.com. But if you want to hit me direct, amy@floatinghomesportland.com is great. And also, if I may, I teach a class at EXP University called Niche Marketing. And I just wrapped up 6 class sessions. So I'll probably be teaching that starting again in a couple of months. So if you want to get in on my niche marketing class, I have to send you a pass. Email me and I'll send you a pass.
And the name of your book is?
A Buyer's Guide to Floating Homes.
Perfect. Well, Amy, thank you so much. Have a great weekend and have fun. Great to connect. And we'll see you all soon.
All right.
Thanks, Amy.
Peace and love. Bye.